When it's all said and done, what will your story say? A friend of mine, Justin Prince, once asked me what my dash represented. And I thought, dash? I said, yeah, dash. If you think about someday down the road, inevitably, when we all die, there will be on our gravestone or tombstone the date we were born, a dash, and the date we died, making that dash symbolic of everything, the little line that represents it all. And so when the sun is setting on your lifetime and you've breathed your last breath and you've enjoyed your last sip of coffee and you've smiled for the last time, and all that remains are the people that you've touched and what you've built along the way, what will that dash represent? And I hope you'll join me in asking yourself that question, like truly thinking about it. No, not just when it's easy to. Not when things are firing on all cylinders. I'm wondering, will you think about it on the days you've hit that snooze button 3 times and you're wondering to yourself, does any of this even matter? I'm wondering, will you think about it when you feel lost? Or feel that the hope in your life seems camouflaged? I'm wondering, will you think about it when you've let yourself down? Or feel like you've let those around you down, or maybe when others have let you down? There's a lot we can control. But that dash, I need you to hold that. I need you to know that, as Viktor Frankl alluded to in a slightly different context, that is the one thing that cannot be taken away. See, the dash, at least for me, it makes it crystal clear how short our time is, and I don't know why it's so effective. Why, of all things, it's the dash that connects. The idea that your life, in terms of time, is a grain of sand on the beach. It's a raindrop in a thunderstorm. It's a single flicker of light in an infinite galaxy of stars. I think about that and it's like, don't you get it? You're here and you shouldn't be. None of us should. Too many things had to be perfect. Too many things had to be just right. An impossible number of variables had to align, and they did. They did in order to gift you that dash. And that doesn't mean we can't sit down and relax every once in a while. My point isn't, hey, never sleep in, or that you shouldn't be human. I'm coming from a different place. I'm speaking as someone who seemingly always finds the difficulty or trouble or obstacle first. I'm wired to see what's wrong. I've talked about it countless times over the years. I'm wired to protect and preserve. And I have my moments of courage. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But my God, if you knew how hard I had to fight to be courageous when I most needed to be, I think you'd be surprised. But what keeps me fighting, the more I come to understand, is that simple line. I cannot let go of the dash. See, if we were here forever, then it's like, I get it. Go slow. It's safer that way. Less chance of falling down. Follow your curiosity later. It will always be there. And there will be, at some point down the road, a better time. Why not wait for the better time? Forever will present one. But that's not how it works. Right? And you start to think, oh, sure, that song is gonna keep playing. And it might play forever, but me, I only get a few notes. And this march through time is endless. Yeah, but I only get a few steps. And so you start to ask yourself, why wouldn't you make sure? Like, damn sure. Why wouldn't you be positive with everything you had that those notes echoed into eternity? And those footsteps took you to the places you most wanted to be. That dash, it symbolizes all that your life can become. So when you need it most, use it. Close your eyes and imagine the highlight reel of your life. And ask, did I spend that snapshot of time with the people that I loved most? Did I laugh? Did I follow my curiosity? Did I do the things that lit me up? Did I chase down the meaningful, cut off the trivial, invite in the beautiful? In this snapshot, there is a world of possibility. It's your reason to push. Because the reality around you now doesn't have to be the one that exists when all is said and done, when the dash is carved into stone. Today is not the end. Today is not permanent. Today is where you begin the journey of recreating what that line will represent. In the times in my life where I've found myself at my lowest, you know what saved me? It's never been the acquisition of something new. It's never been money or resources or even people. It was hope. It was belief that tomorrow can be different from today. And I can't control everything, but I can control that. I get to decide what that dash means, and that has always been enough to close one chapter and start anew. So if you're questioning the road, if you're asking yourself why, it's because you are blazing a trail that's currently unmapped. You're designing something that doesn't exist. So understand that not knowing isn't a bug, it's a feature. You're designing something that you'll be able to smile about when you look back down over your life. And for those looking at the ceiling now, hitting the snooze button now, wondering why, and trust me, I've been there, it gets better. And it will get better because you will make it so. You didn't come this far to let it slip away. You weren't put here to mail it all in. There is outside your front door everything you need to live a life that excites you. Just decide to go get it. Decide to craft something beautiful. It may look like just a line on a tombstone, but it is so much more. It's symbolic of what you can have. The decision at your feet now. When life wasn't easy, when you were unsure, when finding meaning felt like trying to squeeze blood from a rock. The question is, did you remember your strength? Did you breathe 1,000,000 lifetimes into a single, seemingly insignificant, arbitrary line? One thing I've become much more intentional about over the years as a runner and an endurance athlete is hydration. Not just drinking more water, but actually replacing the electrolytes you lose through training, long hikes, travel, or even spending time outside in South Florida and now Arizona where I live. That's why I use Element. It's a no-brainer. It's a zero-sugar electrolyte drink mix with a meaningful amount of sodium, along with potassium and magnesium to help support hydration without all that sugar and junk that's in most sports drinks that are available to us. So when I'm running, I'm hiking, I take the powder packs with me. If it's after a workout, my go-to is one of their cold, already prepared cans. Like I've talked about on the show before, I've noticed 100% that when I stay on top of my electrolytes, I have more consistent energy, fewer headaches. I simply feel better during my long distance training sessions and recovery. So whether you're lifting, running, fasting, eating low carb, or you're just someone who sweats a lot, Element is an easy addition to your routine. If you order now, you can get a free 8-count sample pack with any purchase. It's a great way to test all the most popular flavors, figure out which one's your favorite. Just head to Drink Element, that's drinklmnt.com/Eddie to claim that offer. And if you don't love it, it's no problem. Element has a no questions asked refund policy, so there's really no risk or downside to giving it a try. I was on a pretty long flight last week from Europe, and I downloaded this miniseries. It's called 1883, and it's the prequel to a show called Yellowstone. It's basically about, some settlers looking to go out west, right? From, I believe, Tennessee and Texas, taking the Oregon Trail all the way across the country to the West Coast. And it's just this brutal journey, right? Famine, storms, rivers, wildlife, clashes with natives. I mean, everything you can imagine that would make this trip hell. And the main character is, I think, about 18 years old, and the whole story is told through her eyes. So, spoiler here, but I can't really avoid spoiling it. She gets hit with an arrow during a confrontation with natives. The arrow goes through her stomach, and it pierces her liver. And so her dad is caring for her, right? She's lying down, just in really bad shape. It makes kind of an abrupt movement, and her father, who's leaning over her, kind of goes, hey, slow down. And then says, quote, "They cauterized the outside of you, but time is the only thing that can stitch the inside." And I wrote that down immediately. Beautiful quote, right? Obviously referencing her wound in that scene, but I think also referring to the wound this whole thing would leave on her father's heart, whose instincts were correctly suggesting that she wouldn't make it much longer. And she didn't. And I think in our world, to put it simply, there are always two things at play. The things we have control over and the things we don't. The action that we can take now and the subtle patience that exists under the surface. In the example, you can attempt to close or cauterize the outside of the wound. You can monitor it for infection. You can rest. You can do all the things. But what happens inside, well, that was beyond them. And in both loss and in times of growth, I often find myself frustrated with that dance. When it's loss, after losing something or someone, you can engage with new stimuli. You can attempt to refocus, spend time with people that light you up. You can certainly put yourself in position to move on. That's great and it's helpful. But we also know that the heart won't move on until it's ready to move on. There are sort of two parallel tracks existing at once. And so you have control, certainly, but how much? And then with growth, you can do all the right things. You can work long hours, you can plan, seek out efficiency, commit to consistency, and all of that is critical. But that exponential growth curve requires time, days, and often a large accumulation of them. There are the unexpected occurrences, the curveballs, the stepping back to leap forward, epiphanies. And so using this same metaphor, you have control over the outside. It can be cared for, and it should. But in this same metaphor, if the inside is a mere representation of time and that which is beyond our control, there's a necessary trust and patience required. Perhaps the term should be aggressively patient. When I first started doing this in 2014, I heard a speech from Les Brown where he mentioned the bamboo tree, and it came at a time when I needed it most. When I was acting and the wheels were turning and life was spinning, but the results were minimal at best. Right? What makes the bamboo tree special, what Les alludes to, is that it takes years and years for that tree to emerge from the ground. But when it does, it basically shoots up immediately, right? Overnight, rapidly. And so it appears like it comes out of nowhere, but there's a world of change happening underground with each tick of the clock. And so the farmer has to tend to the soil and water it and commit to its daily maintenance. Well, the rest of the world sees nothing, right? They look on and think that he or she has lost their mind. But that farmer's merely juggling what he can control with the faith in that which he cannot control. Because in all likelihood, there will be a point when the bamboo breaks through the earth's surface and makes a break towards the sky in stunning fashion. And so this is somewhat of a different lens, right? That's what I want this to be, a different way of looking at the world, because so much of the time we focus, and I certainly do with these videos, on the things that we can control. Often what we do is mind-blowing, right? What we're capable of. We are powerful beyond imagination. But I tell you, the older I get, and the more wisdom I'm able to acquire, true strength seems to be knowing how powerful you are and, big and, marrying that understanding to the fact that sometimes, no matter what we do, that clock must tick. No matter how hard we march in a particular direction, our hearts must heal on their own. No matter how fast we build or how consistently we show up, the destination requires 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 20 trips around the sun until we get what we set out to capture. That reminder is everything. When you feel you have received no validation for your work or your effort. They say it's not the destination, it's the journey. And I believe that to be true because the destination is merely a reflection of the road you've traveled. It's a summary of the external cauterization of our wounds and our challenges or difficulty. And each step we took, each head nod as we moved into the unknown, each tick of the clock as our efforts and dreams became reality. When you feel you've lost faith, when you're looking at the ground and no bamboo has emerged, sure, analyze and adjust your approach, pivot, understand what you can do now. But for the sake of progress and your sanity, marry that with the knowledge that some plants take a long time to sprout. Be willing to do your part, but let the clock do its part. Let time play the role it was meant to play. You know how you do that? By continuously marching forward. But it's been so long. March forward. But it hurts. March forward. But I'm lost. March forward. As my favorite saying goes, time heals nothing unless you move along with it. You doing all you can do now allows fate to do all it can. Too many times we get discouraged or never go or leave too early because we think life is entirely determined by our output. When results are the product of, yes, planting and nourishing, but also when called to be patient, being patient. Time is the only thing that can stitch the inside. As you make your way to your own personal greatness, whatever that means to you, whatever that feels like to you, I ask that you arm yourself with that reminder. The ones who reach mountaintops, they were relentless in what they could control, but they were accepting of what they could not. This is the dance that reshapes our lives. If there's one thing I've never been great about, that's skincare. I'm outside all the time, I'm running, I'm hiking, I'm rucking, spending so much time taking care of my body that I forget that my skin is a part of it. That's why I've partnered with and been using OneSkin. Their daily lotion has an anti-aging peptide that targets fine lines, dullness, and loss of firmness. And again, with how much time I spend outside, that really matters. Apparently, sun exposure is responsible for up to 80% of visible skin aging, and my skin just feels better and healthier, more hydrated than it used to. It's become a quick, easy part of my daily routine. I use it right before I head out the door. It's also been backed by 4 peer-reviewed clinical studies. It has more than 10,000 5-star reviews, and it's recognized by Bloomberg as a leader in skin longevity. For a limited time, you can get 15% off with my code EDDIE at oneskin.co/Eddie. Again, that's 15% off at oneskin.co/Eddie. Back to the show. The whole thing was backwards. The cart was before the horse. Now, sometimes that's obvious, right? You don't need to wait until you're strong to go to the gym. The gym is what builds the strength. It's a very easy progression to understand, and we understand it some of the time. Hear me out. He seemed to think that if he only found the right person, he himself would finally be complete. Completely unaware that if he just instead made himself whole, if he worked on himself, the right people would come into his orbit. That is, after all, how it goes. That may be, all in all, my biggest qualm with quote-unquote networking. The best networking you can do is be a capable human being with value to add. Then, get this, instead of having to scour the surface of the earth for like-minded people, they show up in your inbox. It is, all in all, a storyline we have backwards. The right people can't complete you. A complete you brings in the right people. She seemed to think that money had to be made, that success was critical because that success would bring approval and status and power. It would be what slays the demons. And then once successful, she could finally live free. She could be at peace, not bending to the whims and the demands of others. That's why the money was so important. That's why the success was imperative. Not knowing that, it's one's ability to live freely now, before the money comes, without the success and accolades, that the door to all that other stuff is opened. curiosity, passion, and freedom has prompted more greatness than anything else. And there are some things we can afford to postpone. The freedom to be you and do what's meaningful in the present moment is not one of those things. It's another storyline we have backwards. Don't exist in a cage of your own making so that someday you can live free. Live free now and instead capture the meaning in life. He wanted to be one of the greats. And so, as if a blueprint were placed in his hand, he recreated, he copied, he emulated those who have walked the path before him. He tirelessly chiseled away at his current self to represent someone else, those who had done it. Someone standing on a mountaintop looking down. Seems good on the surface. But what he didn't know is that those who came before him injected their own authenticity into their pursuits. They weren't recreating the same portrait as someone else. Maybe in some cases they were picking up the same tools, the same brush. But they were etching the world as it was experienced through their own eyes. Again, maybe students of the technique and the history, certainly respectful of what previously existed, but understanding that their job was to receive the torch and carry it somewhere new. Another storyline that we have backwards. We think extracting ourselves gets us closer to the formula, but my friend, you are the formula. There's a common theme here. And I can tell you wholeheartedly from experience, this isn't some magical thing I pulled out from under a rock. This is lived experience. This is learned experience. This is me putting my own hand on the stove and going, wow, I have to be careful of that. Your world within is the chisel that defines the external world. It's fun to look back at our predictions. I've certainly done my fair share of swinging and missing, like a weatherman, a political analyst, a sports commentator, fill in the blank. We make educated guesses, and then we see how kindly life is to our hypotheses. And the version of me from 10 years ago, mid-20s, walking along the Cape Cod Canal one morning and deciding that your world within would be the North Star, well, that was one that I hit out of the park. It's been a guiding light, handing me the wisdom that when you take accountability for everything in your life, you then become powerful enough to change your life. Your world starts internally and is projected out, always. You make yourself more capable, and boom, suddenly you are surrounded by those called to your energy. When you focus not on the money or the externalities, but on doing what you love and following your curiosity, you soon end up where few have gone, resulting in, you guessed it, an abundance of those very externalities. When you seek not to be those who inspire you, but instead to water and protect your own strengths, to marry the known path with your new authentic path, you create space in a very crowded room. Trust yourself in that. Trust that if you plant the seed and water it and look after it, it will at some point bear fruit. Understand that no one has all the answers because life is not black and white. You are the only one with your vision, your skill set, your values, That means something. Earn that confidence in your own life. Step into the arena. Unleash the parts of you that have been tucked away for fear of standing out or messing up. The whole thing was backwards. We placed more emphasis on the path than the person walking it. More focus on the water than on the seed. A determined mind can navigate any terrain. That energy should be exhausted putting yourself in the game and committing to a growth process. You are the power. You are the strength. You are the secret weapon. But be honest with yourself. Are you allowing you to thrive? Or are you waiting for the right people, money, and circumstances to pick you up and somehow carry you away? I think life is waiting, not for them, but for you to realize it, to own it, and then, most importantly, to do something about it. So maybe the whole thing was backwards. Until now. Until this very moment, until you realize the wake doesn't drive the boat. It merely requires a courageous captain. Self-trust. Are you willing to take the wheel? I have long believed that the solution to even our biggest problems, right, our toughest tasks, our greatest challenges, they can be solved, or at least the process of solving them can begin exactly where you are, using only what you already have, right? Meaning the solution to your problem exists in the room with you, an arm's length away. And you might hear that and think, dude, you know, that's way too good to be true. That's too idealistic. It's too simple. But what I want to try and explain over the next few minutes is how the most important changes we make in life, the things that matter the most, they're simple. Incredibly simple. And it's only our tendency to make things unnecessarily complex that becomes the problem. One of my favorite thinkers, Thomas Sowell, once said, people who pride themselves on their complexity and deride others for being simplistic should realize that the truth is often not very complicated. What gets complex is evading the truth. And he's coming at this more societally from a political angle, but I think so many of these things in the big picture, in the macro, they make sense in the micro. Like I hear this and I think at a personal level, this is so true. You should see the things I come up with in my mind when I'm procrastinating or dragging my feet on something. This angle, that angle, what if this happens or that? Have I thought about A? What about B? What about C? And I usually dance around these things until I remember, Eddie, we've been here before. No. Turn the internal dialogue off and start. Go. Put the project into motion. Breathe life into the pursuit. Then it's off to the races. It's not that complicated. You go before you're ready and you adjust along the way. Right? That's one example. And a few weeks ago, this was sort of reinforced to me in a funny way. It's a seemingly trivial metaphor that I think in its simplicity can be truly valuable. So picture this, right? I was on a train in Venice, Italy, big family trip. And so we'd all been overseas for about 5 weeks, so we're not exactly traveling light. We have Pretty big suitcases, the standard size you'd have to check if you were at an airport going onto an airplane. But we weren't on an airplane. We were on a train with tight quarters and big suitcases. Big crowds, right? So we board this train, people start piling into their seats. And, I'm like, okay, what do we do with these things? And I'm looking around, seeing if I can find a place to store them. I point to one of them, and, one of the folks working there kind of just scowls and walks by. And it's like, okay, I get it. We're the Americans in Europe with the big suitcases. And it just becomes a circus, right? Now, there's an overhead compartment where you can put bags above the seats, but it looks small, it looks tiny. My brother and I were peering around. We both see it, immediately go, no chance that's fitting. So I'm like, okay, we'll put the bags on our seats and either stand by them or sit on the suitcases, let the people board the train. And then when everyone's sitting, we can move all our bags to the aisle. And, we're solving this thing in real time. Then suddenly, I just get this jolt of, why not? Pick up one of the massive bags, and I just start jamming it into the overhead compartment. And, people all the way up and down the aisle are staring at me like I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to condense the suitcases, as much as I can. And after about 30 seconds, the thing somehow fits. My brother jumps up out of his seat. We start grabbing the bags and jamming them all in this overhead compartment. Now, I need you to trust me. I feel dumb as I sit here even speaking this. Imagine how dumb I felt in that moment, right? This whole little traffic jam and commotion was avoidable. Didn't even really want to rehash this. I just want to let it fade into history. But it's one of those things where it's like, the more you think about it, the more the seemingly obvious solution is the point. I'm drawing up a plan to sit on a 55-pound bag and all this unnecessary nonsense when the thing just fit where bags are supposed to go. And maybe it didn't seem like it at first, but regardless, the solution was right there in the overhead compartment. That's like dying of thirst right next to a lake. You're not too far from what you really needed there, pal. So now, let's take this to where it really matters, our personal lives. The things that weigh us down, the obstacles that feel big and ominous and intimidating. Resolving them must call for some larger-than-life response, right? There must be some 5,000-page answer book to encompass my solution here. Nah, not true. What's the simple, singular root of the issue, and how can you attack it head on? There's an idea I've talked about before, but I want to bring up again, about the idea of little hinges. W. Clement Stone once said, little hinges swing big doors. Meaning, there's certain small things we do that have just this monumental impact. It's just, we aren't looking for them. We're not thinking about them the right way, as simple and obvious as it may seem. I'll give you a few personal examples. Headaches. Talked about them before. I've battled with them plenty. They've almost completely disappeared from my life, knock on wood. If that was my suitcase scenario, right? I was doing everything but addressing the root cause. Ibuprofen every day, seeing doctors, different medicines, CAT scans, you name it. What helped? Electrolyte tablets. Right? It's like, I did everything but that. Sports injuries, right? Constantly dealing with stuff. And I still am to some extent, but stretching has made a monumental difference. Just waking up in the morning and stretching for 10 minutes. Or my writing output. Having a block of time in the morning where every day I write no matter what. Diet. Here's the magic solution. Don't have bad stuff in the cabinet. I'm looking at you, Flaming Hot Cheetos. These aren't of little consequence. They're decisions that have drastically changed my life. And I know they're right Because I look at them now and it's like, it just feels so obvious. Oh, look at the rocket scientist over there. He started stretching more and now he doesn't pull his back every Thursday. But they only seem obvious in hindsight. When you're moving forward, they feel complex and messy and impossible. You know how difficult life feels when you can't open your eyes because of a headache? The last thing I was thinking was get some electrolyte tablets off Amazon. It was way bigger than that. It was, I hope whoever has to cut my head open and perform surgery knows what they're doing, right? We think the solutions need to be as painful as the problem. No. The reason we're still there, stuck in the issue, is because we've put the problem on a pedestal. And I firmly believe that. And so my ask of you is to take a second and think about your life. Truly. Think about where you are and the so-called obstacles before you. And pretend you had to distill life down into its simplest form. If you had to, and I mean had to find a solution right now where you are, where would you start? If you had to do one thing today that would give you the biggest bang for your buck, what could that look like? Solutions are not as big as the problem. And I think that's why they're hidden in plain sight. I think that's why we walk right by them. We think we need a team of Harvard neurologists when we need electrolyte tablets. We're running around trying to camouflage 5 cases of luggage when they can be squeezed in the overhead department labeled, yeah, I know, luggage. Use what you have where you are, because where you are, answers live. And maybe it doesn't fix the problem overnight, but I promise you, it'll get you closer to a solution than the obstacle you've unknowingly transformed into a 7'8" four-handed monster with razor-sharp teeth. You have this. You can slay this dragon and come out on top. Just 1, believe it, and 2, open your eyes. That combination seems to work miracles.